Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting, January 22nd at 7 o'clock. Present tonight, we have Vice Chairman Richard Clark, Clerk of the Board Steve Wetruba, Member Lou Perrin, Chairman Dan Edmiston, and our planner Bill Scanlon. All right, we do not have minutes of last meeting. Our Carol's been ill. We can't approve those. We'll have to table that. Item B is an A&R plan. Applicant Depot Road Charlton LLC, property located on Noble Street. Create parcel A out of a lot 42R2 to be conveyed to lot 41R2. Sorry, there's Tony.
Good night.
You guys, we can go up there. I guess we'll just go up there.
Estimates of the proposed work within the right of way.
So, Bill, you have the written application, everything, form has been turned in?
Yes.
Fees been paid?
Yes.
Any waivers being asked for?
No.
No waivers.
Or you want to go through the plan?
Okay, Mr. Patel, because that by the lot, before you do anything, he wants, I guess he wants to build a stone wall all around the lot. And this was kind of, he wants me to resolve all this before. Right, so he wants to build a straight wall over here and not a wall like this. So that's the only reason why he's trying to do that.
So that parcel is going to be swapped between the adjacent lot?
Well,
I thought we combined these two lots, didn't we?
no, we just, we didn't combine them. This is a separate lot, but he's buying this lot, the privacy.
Which we already approved it.
Right, so, because look at this thing, if you keep this line in place, for a house like this is $6,500, it's a $1.7 million house. All right, so yeah, you want to build a wall all around the lot, keep everything inside, so. And you will keep this as a lot for its privacy. Doesn't want to kill the lot.
Do you want the walls because of elevation reasons?
No, you want just,
Is it for cosmetics? Or is it? for-
privacy, I don't know.
So he wants to have privacy, he owns this lot, he owns this lot.
Right.
Separate the two. So
Exactly, because if he's gonna build a house over here, the house is gonna be right, too close, so,
Oh, so he has plans of developing this lot.
I don't know, I don't know.
What that would make.
But
it
right
separate
now-
by
I
the
don't
wall,
think you
that'd
can.
be easy.
I
Yeah.
think when we allow them to do that,
Yeah.
when we allow them to do that, then we stated that this lot was not gonna be buildable. I'm almost positive we put that on record.
Okay, that's not indicated here. I mean, it's
Well,
here as indicated.
I thought that's what we agreed upon.
Well, I think our understanding was that it was to be a buffer. I don't know that.
Well,
we ever
He
settled on
wanted
that.
this lot, I thought one of our meetings was, they wanted this lot to go with this lot. To
Right.
release this lot,
Yep,
because the road wasn't in and the bridge wasn't,
Right.
when we released the lot.
right.
We said yes, under the understanding that this was not gonna be a buildable lot.
I'm not sure, is this all
Well,
wetlands?
It's all wet,
So
but
it
we
wouldn't be
still have,
buildable anyway, would it?
we still have 75% of uplands over here.
You do have 75%?
Right, yeah.
I'd have to review back to the minutes, but I'm almost positive that's what we agreed upon.
So the question is, these two lots are about an acre or so, but requires 2 acres in Res 87.
Okay.
He had a protection when his plan was approved for 8 years plus 4 years of addition under the Permit Extension Act. So that time period has expired. So currently he has to have 2 acres for a buildable lot. So you can approve this land swap, but I don't think a building permit.
So it wouldn't be a building, this would not be a buildable lot, given
Correct.
I'm not 100% following that, because right now, if I understand correctly, this lot has been built on, they're building on this lot, and nothing else through here has been built on, and they're planning on building up through here, correct?
Right,
Yeah, so that means you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lots.
I have 10
that-
lots.
Several lots.
10
right.
lots that are all less than the 2 acres.
Correct.
So how are they not buildable?
Because they don't meet the minimum lot size in the district today.
Yeah, so that
after the
is,
plan was approved, town meeting changed the zoning. So under state law, he has 8 years of protection from zoning changes,
And he's given 4 years extension.
plus a 4 years extension. After that period of time, the lot tax conformed to the zoning that's currently in effect. So the question is what to do about it, and Tony, as a landowner, can submit a request to town meeting to rezone the property back to Res 43. Or the planning board could sponsor an article to do the same thing. So that those 1 acre lots then would be buildable.
How high's the wall?
oh, I don't know, that's, but going back to what Bill is trying to say is that from here up to here, this lot is sold. All right? With the new zoning, like 2 acre lots, out of 10 lots, I get 6. All right? So I like to see what we gotta do, the planning board, or, I don't know, because,
Well, I think those you see, there's 2 options, apparently, one that falls to the planning board, or it goes to you,
right,
or appeal to town meeting.
So to do a zoning map change requires public hearing by the planning board and 2/3 vote at town meeting.
yeah.
And what's the order of events? Either go to town meeting or?
The planning board does the public hearing, and then you make a recommendation to
Yeah.
the town meeting whether to support the article.
And,
One
way of doing it, you said.
yeah, I'm gonna be very
Or-
clear, all right? So everybody knows understand my position, is this is a very expensive piece of road. I have to do a bridge that I already, the wall's in place, and I can have those slabs delivered tomorrow, they're already waiting for me. That bridge can be in place tomorrow night, all right?
I thought it was gravel, but.
Oh, no, it's a 12-foot span culvert, right? So I build the walls, and I have the culverts already made with L&L, all right? Okay, so this is all ledge. I have to blast all things to drain all this stuff and the cuts. And if anything changes, if I'm losing a lot, I'm out. All right, I want everybody to know my position.
Okay. That aside, this is the issue before us right now.
Right.
That's,
And
This is-
that's what you consider
This
it.
is simply a swap
Right.
from this lot to that lot.
Right, yeah. That's a
our-
different, totally different thing over here. This is something else.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So my question is, if the planning board takes action tonight to approve this A and R, does that effectively reset time?
No,
No.
don't approve the definitive plan.
We've got the determination right here. The no determination of compliance with zoning requirements has been made or implied.
Okay.
So this has to go through revenue channels to be able to build on that. and the lots up
So
there.
we do this, it's still a non-conforming lot.
The protection from zoning only applies to definitive.
It's simply,
Okay.
this gentleman here has the advantage of he has a nice lot, straight lot line.
Okay.
That's all he's trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him a straight line.
Let's see, we got that down here further on the list, probably. Okay.
All right, so we've discussed with Tony what he's planning on doing. There's approximately a 3,000 square foot swap of land from Lot 42 R2 to be conveyed to Lot 41 R2. Does the planning board have any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we approve the A&R plan as presented, making that swap from parcel 42R2 to be conveyed to lot 41R2.
We're basically accepting the plan, we're not approving it, correct, Bill?
Yes.
No. So, yeah, I have a motion, if you don't mind the amending, to
And the
from
motion to
accept.
To accept.
as opposed to approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
I'm gonna sign
Got
everything
the
off. Yeah,
Sharpie.
Yep, probably best go
Just walk back up
there
and sign it.
A what?
The pen to sign,
Oh.
sign the Mylar, and 2 copies of the front. May sometime, I don't know the date. Two paper copies. Yeah. I think so.
There you go. So before we get into the next item, we do have a public hearing at 7:15, Lyons Estates. I've received a letter from Mr. David Haynes. I, David Haynes, owner of Lyons Estate subdivision, would like to respectfully request an extension of public hearing from 1/22/20 to next meeting on February 12th, 2020, in order to respond to town engineer questions and to have board review before next scheduled meeting. So unfortunately, we're going to have to do another continuance. This will be until, again, February 12th's meeting. We are going to request that Mr. Haynes is here next time. There will not be a continuance, so we can get this public hearing on the agenda. We can do that.
Yes.
Send him a letter.
Yep.
Let him know that next time, 12th,
Okay.
he will be here. Public hearing will be we'll do it 7:15 again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Tony, you've got item C, A. You want to continue? You have something to bring to us?
The reductions?
A reduction on bond, yes.
Okay. So this is item C in our agendas here, gentlemen. So just a real quick question that I have. Based on Graves Engineering report, there's some Phase 1 work that hasn't been complete yet. Some of those items are streetlights and poles. Appears to be 4 streetlights and poles and 1 streetlight mounted on an existing pole. With those areas being, I mean, they're being inhabited. I mean, those areas are, all the houses are sold, built, people are living there. When are these streetlights going to get installed?
Well, what we got is, we have some stuff that needs to be done before I submit the project to the town
Yep.
for acceptance. So, as we do some work, we lose the bond. Okay, now, their bond was 2 bonds, a letter of credit and the tri-party agreement. One was 108, the other one was 19. So the 19 was reduced now to 2,900, and the 108 was reduced to 46,000.
Right, my question is more is, you're moving into phase 3 right now, and there's still work in phase 1 that hasn't been complete. I realize that we're holding some money back, but I think, I'm speaking for the board, I hope it's more advantageous and it's more in the town's best interest to have this work complete as opposed to holding the money back. So just trying to figure out, there's a lot of, minor items for phase 1 that haven't been complete. When are those items going to be complete? So,
Oh, they're gonna be complete, well, I thought we all set with the boundaries. I just put in place the boundaries that my engineer told me to do it. All right, and I guess what happened is some of those boundaries, they are in the sidewalk, some they are in the driveways, and they put a nail through it. I mean, instead of put a boundary, they put a nail on. Okay, I supposed to meet with Jeff Walsh there to see if those are okay, if it approves those or not. So, but with the snow, we just couldn't do it now. And there's a question about some of the trees, right, that some of the buyers, some of the homeowners, they not allow me to plant those trees. I get the trees, and I just have the trees in one lot there because they don't let me do it.
right,
Because any place that, let's say, houses that they have a sidewalk in the front, all right, for me to plant those trees, they gotta go on their lot, behind the sidewalk. And I need permission from them, right? And I almost got into a big fight with one of them over there, so I supposed to go back again with Jeff there and see what we're gonna do about that. The light, we have like 4 light poles. Jeff shows 5, but it's only 4. And I ordered those lights through a company in Milford, and as soon as they come back, we're just gonna plant them, and just got everything done.
all right.
So it's 4 more poles, but then there's an existing pole that's gonna have a light on it, so it's 5 lights and 4 poles, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's 4 poles and 1 light on the pole on Cape Pond Road.
Excuse me, but is there a date that you can put on any of these things? It sounds like there's all of this in the works, and there's possibilities, and there's probabilities, and things are gonna happen, but there's no calendar reference here.
It'll be soon as weather permitting. Soon as
Weather permitting.
Because basically everything is done. Just, it's like trees and a few boundaries that we have to see what you're gonna do.
That's another question I had, is we've talked, whenever Guy Horn was chairman, we talked about the trees and trying to find a way to get the trees actually in. If I remember correctly, we also talked about sidewalks. Right now, doesn't the plan show sidewalks on both sides, Bill? Are you familiar with the plan?
No, I'm not familiar.
All right.
There was a waive on site. There was,
Was there a waiver, or were you looking for a waiver?
oh, no, there was a waive given when before they signed the plans.
All right.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, we're to understand that it's weather permitting.
I believe we released some bond money a couple meetings back, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I believe you're-
Did we release any bond money?
No, I think it was just a lot.
Oh, I thought we released the money at one point.
I thought we talked about it, but I'm not sure if we did or not, because we didn't have an estimate from Graves at that point in time.
I think it was last
before
February
that.
was the last time money was released.
Maybe it was February, where time flies.
Right?
There was, as I recall at the last meeting, an issue, and we asked Tony to check with the town treasurer, as I recall, to verify that things were as I believe you indicated they were, and I assume that that meeting has taken place and everything is resolved at this point?
Yes.
Well, I mean, with something happened that shouldn't, is that the town has a tri-party agreement, the original, and they have a letter of credit from the bank. They can find this. They can find those.
They being the town.
Right, they gotta be here because they have these letters in their positions from the first day that they signed the plan, I mean, when they released the lots. All right, but we have a copy of those letters now from the bank and from both banks, showing that the letter of credit is still there and the tri-party agreement still in order.
Okay, so Bill, you have those?
Yes, we do, yes.
The town treasurer is aware that you have
Yes,
those?
yes.
Okay.
And what are we looking for a reduction? I haven't seen a dollar amount.
Well, if you go to one of them is the last stretch that you did at the top,
Yeah.
okay, I have a letter of credit for that with the Bank Hometown for, right now, it was before this reduction, was 19,000 some dollars, and that was reduced to $2,900.
So that's about a $17,000 release.
Right. The other one, before this reduction was 108, and right now was reduced to 46,000.
But isn't that the one that was expired?
Yes, it turns out that it hasn't expired, it's still in effect.
Oh, okay. When did we find that out?
I talked to the bank
Oh, okay,
and got a copy of the agreement, and it's still in effect.
okay.
Because the letter we have here states that it expired July 13, 2018. So do you have that with you?
No, I don't.
Take a
have
look at it.
with me. Which one was that, the hometown or the
That was the hometown.
Road Hills? Yeah, okay.
And then on the $46,000 bond, it says here there's $31,000 left. And
Oh, no,
we're
no,
supposed to be
that's-
holding 49,000?
No, that's a separate bond, cash account for the town, that the town has.
I don't know if I'm speaking for the rest of the board or not, but I would like to see all these documents before I put anything to vote.
I agree.
Okay, I'll get them for you for the next meeting.
All right.
This used to be a very easy thing. I mean, from the very beginning, keep releasing these things, right? We come to the meeting, the bond is released, the letter is in place, the letter of credit is in place. And the thing is, I came to the last meeting, I walk out here with nothing, and I'm over here today, and I already passed on my vacation, now I'm leaving Monday, okay? And I'm trying to resolve this thing, which is supposed to be an easy thing, and.
No, I agree, it should be easy, but I mean, I'm not a treasurer, I'm not a financial expert, but I have something in front of me that says a letter of
Yeah.
credit is expired.
Yeah,
And that's the
Bill
only thing
already-
I have to go on right now, is that the letter of credit's expired. I mean, if the board wants to vote over me here and say that, hey, no, we don't, I'm okay with that, but this is the only thing I have to go on.
No, I agree with you, Dan.
So if I don't say something that says the letter of credit hasn't expired, or that it hasn't been renewed or something, if I don't have something in writing that tells me that, I think it's kind of irresponsible for me to simply vote right now. That's just my personal opinion.
Right,
So I realize that it should be easy, but it's easy when all the paperwork is squared away, and the paperwork isn't squared away. So that makes it complicated.
I think it is, I mean, Bill talked to.
I don't-
both banks today,
Well, I think the board has the right to request
Hey,
the
okay, no.
documents. Right.
right? But I just, my
I
point
thought that's what we
is-
requested last time, to be cleared up with
Right.
the treasurer.
Right.
The treasurer doesn't, the treasurer should have both letters over there.
All right,
Can't
do we know,
find them.
do we know that he has? Do we know that he has both letters?
I checked with him.
You checked with him and you,
Yeah, I spent 2 hours over here the other day between Bill and the town treasurer.
Do you have copies of those letters with you?
Bill has the copy of this. Those letters, Bill, you have a copy of those letters.
Do you want me to get them now?
If we want to resolve this, so that's the only thing that's gonna,
yeah, we've
Change
got
my
a
mind,
public
right?
meeting coming up at 7:30, so. Again, the issue in terms of how much is he looking for?
that's another thing that we don't know. We know that they're asking for a reduction to $49,000 and $49,800, but I do not know how much we're releasing. I have nothing here in writing that tells me what we're releasing. Nothing.
Well, the release is, was done by Jeff Walsh, the town engineer, the town consultant.
Graves?
Graves says what, Graves has laid a value on the amount of work that still has to be done, $49,800. The letter from Graves, the information we have from Graves does not tell us what we have in escrow right now. So there is, that's what he's looking to find, that's what we need.
He has all the information.
So as soon as we find that, then we can possibly put this to vote, but without that information, we're just kind of tapping in the dark here.
And as the tri-party agreement and the letter of credit is all backed up by cash with these banks.
So does this one supersede this one? Both dated January
I
7th.
think it's a duplicate copy, isn't it? The same thing? 85,580.
Yeah, I think what he did is that he has his,
There's two copies.
looks like it's a spreadsheet that he has made, and they copied the information from the spreadsheet into the,
This is for the 2000, okay, this, oh, wait a minute, this goes. These will go together.
I see what he's doing here.
This one is one
There's
that's
three of them,
19,
one for each phase.
$19,000. Last February, I can't read that so well. Again, was reduced now to 2,900. This is a letter of credit, and this is a tri-party agreement.
So this is from Bill's Financial Services? I asked them to send this to me because I couldn't find it in the file, so this is what they sent over. This is the tri-party agreement, which is currently in effect.
In effect, how long? How much longer does this have to go?
It doesn't expire, I don't believe.
On or before December 31st, 20
Blank.
20 blank, so
blank. Okay.
there's no
It's
expiration date on it.
indefinite.
So this is an agreement between the bank, the developer, and the town. That's why
And
it's a tri-party.
Treasurer has a copy of this? Or a
Uh,
copy was
I-
sent to the treasurer?
I don't know, I just got this today.
You can't find it, should have it, but you can't find it.
No, but I think the issue was that the treasurer wasn't aware of or thought that as the date was the July date of 2018, as his record had it, as I understood. This was the
is-
date the treasurer was working with, I believe, the July 13, 2018.
They go together?
Yep.
These are the,
And that was the issue we asked Tony to resolve, I believe, with the treasurer.
And this
I
one
recall.
is the letter of credit.
So this is the agreement with Hometown Bank, which is the other one that we're asking for release of funds.
I don't see any amounts on here.
Well, they've been reduced over time.
Should be a balance
As-
indicated somewhere.
as
I
Which
guess
has been
one of the
completed.
things that we're looking for, if I understand this correctly, is each one of these have a balance right now.
Right.
We're being asked to reduce these balances combined to the 49.8. I don't know what the starting point is.
So we're being asked to retain that amount of money in each of these accounts, so that whatever is in there will be drawn down to the amount of work that's left to be done.
The way it usually works is like, if you don't mind, okay, the way it works is like, the town, the planning board gives me a letter saying that the bond was reduced from 19 to 2,900.
Right,
I take that letter to the bank,
right,
then they give
Give
me
you
the
the-
balance from 19.
the 17,000.
because
right.
the
The
20,000
only indicated amount in this that I can see is that no event may aggregate drawing under this letter of credit exceed $562,000. But it doesn't tell us where it is at this point, in terms of, it's at $562,000, or is it $2?
All right, so to try to get this back on track, we've got 2 minutes before our public hearing starts. We have a letter here from the M. Hill Companies dated January 17th. It states that for Phase 1 and Phase 2A, there is currently $46,771.20 remaining in this bond, which is the exact amount that is shown
No,
here.
actually,
Yeah, that's not correct.
It's wrong. The money that they have in hand is 50,700,
Okay.
4,000 more than what it is.
Okay, so what you're saying then is the evidence that we have does not agree with what you think is the correct amount, which I think, in my mind, just results in further confusion.
The real thing over here, the real
We
thing.
get to the real deal now.
Yes. This bank, the tripartite agreement, they have cash that I gave them, 50,700. It's $4,000 more than what they show over here, $46,000. All right?
Yeah, I just wanna let you mind
The
your own
letter of
time.
credit, they have $19,000 cash that I gave them to back up their letter of credit. All right? Yes. When I get a letter from the planning board, they're gonna reduce their letter of credit to $2,900, from 19 to 2,900.
So does the planning board have enough information right now to take a quick vote before we open the public meeting? Or do you want to continue discussion after the public meeting?
I move we continue discussion after the public meeting.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, the
All right,
only
so
thing
we'll-
is, it really screws me up because I have to leave for 3 weeks and nothing's gonna be done.
We're just asking for a continuation. We have a public meeting that we have to get to because it's been scheduled. I think that we're getting closer. It's just that there might be some questions. We just can't take a vote right now, unfortunately. Hopefully, we'll be able to after the public meeting. Sign up for debate. We have a public meeting now, okay? It's 7:30. We have a public meeting. If you want to, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right,
Are you, I'm here for Rocky Hill Estates. Mr. Hanatsky, I'm Eva. I'm representing my father and my uncle, the attorney. I didn't know if you were going to, it looks like it's item B.
it is, but we have the public hearings that we have to get to.
Okay.
They were posted, so we just haven't, had we had time before the 7:30, we would have been able to get to that. Unfortunately, we didn't. So we're going to go to the public meeting, or a hearing at 7:30, and then depending on what we do with the 7:40, we would be able to talk about the Rocky Hill directly after that.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure that we are here and
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, we're trying to move forward. All right, so it's 7:32, and I'm opening the public hearing for the major site plan review. Application submitted by Peter Bannister to provide a parking area for trucks, delivery vehicles, and to create a self-storage facility at 263 West Main Street. Note that the zoning enforcement officer determined self-storage is not permitted at this location. Do I have the whole entire notice in here that I need to read, or?
It's right here, Dan.
All right, I'll try to speed read. In accordance with the provisions of Section 504, Site Plan Review of the Dudley zoning bylaw, the Dudley Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020, at 7:30 PM at the Dudley Municipal Complex, Room 321 Alpha, DMC Veterans Memorial Hall, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass. 01571, on the application of Peter G. Bannister, trustee, 263 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass., for a major site plan review to contain a self-storage units and provide a parking area for trucks, delivery vehicles at 263 West Main Street, Dudley. The site plan was prepared by DC Engineering and Survey Incorporated, 32 Cranberry Meadow Road, Charlton, Mass., dated January 8th, 2020. The property contains approximately 520,277 square feet and is located on the southerly side of West Main Street and easterly of Lyons Road. The front portion of the property is in a Business 15 zoning district, and the rear portion is in a Residential 30 district. The assessor's property IDs are map 121, parcel 67, 2.1, and 10. Copies of the plan and application are on file in the planning board, and we will receive public input at this hearing. All right. Quick introduction and drive on.
All right, Jason DuBois, Eastern Engineering and Survey, also Bannister here for EGP Realty Trust. Property at 263 West Main Street, is formerly the riding range in the back of the property. I'm not sure if anyone was familiar with it. So, this plan is slightly different than what was submitted, because after the fact we found out we weren't allowed to do storage units. But it's basically the same overall footprint of development on the site. So West Main Street is up in this area here. There's an existing building here, which I believe is the Enterprise Auto is this building here, and in the back here is the old driving range. So this area right here where these dark lines are is where the storage units were. Basically taking those off, and we're gonna replace those with additional parking spaces. They were 40-foot long units before, so now they're 220-foot parking spaces, so it fits in there perfectly. As shown here, we actually have 540 parking spaces. So that total number changed the additional spaces that we're showing. So the idea is come and enter the site along the side of the building here. We have 24-foot aisles basically around all the different aisles here between all the parking spaces. Grading-wise, everything pretty much sheds off down this direction. That's how it is currently as well. We just, cleaned up the grades and smoothed them out to maintain that flow going across. We do have a few catch basins in the parking lot, but it's mostly gonna be sheet flow off the edge of the parking lot into swales that would be riprap lined swales running down along here and along here, as well as there'd be some stone dams in there to slow the water down. That water would ultimately go to this detention area here, and flow out of that into a fire retention area for the, the final treatment before it's released back down, down into this area here. We do have 13 different lights shown, basically just around the edge of the parking here, and down the middle here where we do have an island between this center row. We are asking for a waiver for landscaping only because there's really nothing visible from the street unless you were to look past this building here. This is all woods basically around this whole section here. There is a subdivision that comes in, an old subdivision that comes in down in this area here, and I believe there's a couple houses that will be right in this area.
Like the Eisenhower.
Yes, yep, there's a business here and another business up in this corner here. That zone line, as you can see right through here, is the business 15 and the residential 30 down in this area here.
I don't know how pertinent it is, but there are water issues, or runoff issues with regards to Eisenhower.
Okay.
And those have yet to be resolved, and I'm understanding.
Water issues.
Water issues in terms of there's a couple of pumps that have been installed, there's a big issue in terms of the issue of the pumps.
Pumps to what?
Stormwater,
For Eisenhower?
yes.
That goes behind,
Topography, I think, is
Yeah.
pretty much the same, it's basically all flat, right?
but that goes behind that,
Right,
that
right.
development.
It's adjacent to, but I'm just questioning in terms of, whether you'd be subject to some of the same issues or some of the same problems coming up that they have experienced already.
I mean, we're not installing any pumps or anything.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
at least you have no plan for that at
Yeah.
present. But given the experience that they've had, it would seem that the topography, I believe, being somewhat similar, there may be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, if
But I'm
anything-
not trying to get too far ahead of this, but.
Yeah, if anything, we've lifted our site up, slightly, 6 inches to a foot.
So how many units would you be building?
Parking spaces?
Well, storage units.
No, there
No
wouldn't
storage
be-
units.
No,
No,
that's,
you're just building parking
Just
spaces?
just the parking lot.
The parking lot. Commuter lot?
No, it's for a leasing company, just to park new cars. and-
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
how wide is that, where the entry is gonna be on the side of the existing enterprise building? How wide is that?
It's at least 24 feet, I don't actually have the dimension on there, but I could find that out.
No, zoning is
I know, these aisles are 24 feet, and it's at least that wide.
Okay.
This in conjunction with Enterprise at all? I know that they're in the existing building.
No,
No?
Is this for the Amazon trucks?
it's where the Amazon trucks are now, but the Amazon trucks, it's only it's a temporary thing. Amazon is gonna build like 5 warehouses in Massachusetts. So what they do is they've collected the vans, so when they open the warehouses, they'll have the vans to take.
Okay.
Instead of opening the warehouses and then, okay, we gotta get these vans.
Oh, okay.
So the vans are only, kinda like a one-shot deal.
Yeah, because I, Place Motor in Webster, they had
They
a ton
have
of them
them
back there, and they don't move, and I was wondering what that was about, so that's
They're-
what,
That's what it is,
Okay.
yeah, they're everywhere.
So if the planning board's okay, we'll open up for public comments.
sure.
Anybody in the public like to speak? Yep, please come up forward here, you sign in real quick and just say what you need to say.
Put my whole email and all that, or just sign in?
Sign in, please. Good.
Kelly Miller, 11 Eisenhower Drive. Pete's been a great neighbor, so we run parallel to the whole of the driving range. My question to you, Pete, is just gonna be lighting, because that's my backyard, and that Enterprise spotlight that shines, I can see in my bathroom. So I'm worried, I'm hearing 13 lights, I just wanna know how that's gonna work for our neighbors.
Oh, the light they put on the back of the building?
The Enterprise light, that's like a gigantic spotlight. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
It's
not
the
really.
brightest- You may not see it, you haven't been there for a while at night. but
Is it the one that they put on the back of the
Yeah, I
building,
think,
maybe?
yeah.
I mean, definitely, I wouldn't want to direct any light towards your house or anyone else's, you know what I mean? I'm that
Yeah, like I
person
said,
that.
you've been a great neighbor. We've had
Yeah,
no
and even
issues.
if that one's an issue, I would talk to them and, you know, even that one, if it shines in your,
And the vehicles, is that gonna be like an in and out all day kind of thing, or a park for the day and leave, or?
most of them, yeah, they'll just sit until they, you know, it's gonna be like someone's gonna drop off a vehicle, they're gonna sit there until they then take the vehicle to where the customer is.
Just thinking at night, you're gonna have to have it lit for security reasons, I just don't want my backyard to be like, you know.
What is the site lighting plan here?
You can see the lighting around the edge of the parking lot.
Do you have any photometrics to submit?
Yeah, these are the photometric lines here, so there's no lines that are probably within 20 feet of the property line. This is the back of the,
So are those photometrics done by an electrical engineer, or are those just,
these are from electrical engineer detail that we follow on the.
the typically photometrics that I'm familiar with, they're basically in 2 foot or so increments. They tell you the candle power around that. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, there is candle power shown on here, it's 3.1.1, so 0.1 is the outer line. I can do a full.
So the whole inside of that, the whole interior of that parking lot's not illuminated at all, just around the
We
outside?
don't have anything shown at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, if he wants to add any additional lighting, but basically just kind of lighten up the
Yeah.
perimeter and then the entrance in and out through here.
I mean, I don't even have to light up the back if it,
Yeah, I think
if it affects anybody, I'm not, you know what I mean, I'm,
almost eliminate these light
Yeah.
fixtures.
That's why I think
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
just wanna see what it's all about.
I'm easy like
So-
that, yeah.
I don't know right now if there's anything in our bylaws that would encompass, say, 500 and some car parking lot, and what kind of lighting requirements would be there. I mean, you would think that just in general, you see it in every kind of retail space, whatever else, they're lit. There's requirements of what you have to have for a parking lot, keep everything safe. And even if this is delivery vehicles, whatever else, there's gonna have to be some kind of lighting there. And it sounds like to me that the plan is not complete as far as lighting is concerned, and I'm not really accepting that as a photometric plan. So there'd definitely be some more information needed before I feel comfortable with it, but that's just my opinion right now.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of questions. One,
Well,
first,
let's get the
oh, I'm
public.
sorry,
get
public
the
comments?
public's comments.
I think
Anything
that
else,
was
Ms.
it.
Miller, or?
So that was it for me, the water runoff is another, just trying to figure out what it's all about, you know, just because we're gonna be back, like, next door neighbors to it, so.
And the Enterprise building is staying? It's
Yes.
not- So that light that's currently there is gonna stay on that building?
You can work on shielding that, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd like to see which,
Okay.
which light it is, and you know, angle it, cover it, whatever,
Can you sign in, please, sir?
Already did.
You did? One step ahead of us. All right.
First one, Gary Taste, I live at 9 Eisenhower, so those are my neighbors, and Pete's been a good neighbor. I certainly would echo what Kelly just said. The thought of having a parking lot, I mean, I look out my back window now and I see a parking lot. So this coming closer just raises a lot of concerns for me personally, because now I'm thinking about, okay, what is the resale value on this property if and when I ever decide to leave it? I've gotta now sell it that, well, when I moved in, it was a driving range, it's quiet, it's beautiful. Now, it's a parking lot, and that's a very different experience, especially when you're trying to spend time in your backyard. Most people are, so I'd be concerned with the lighting, I'd be concerned with the water runoff. I don't necessarily have an issue right now with water, I'm one of very few, but there's certainly an issue. And, well, I shouldn't say that, I have had some issues around my pool with water runoff, so there's a lot going on, and I definitely want to make sure that, there's a lot more talk about this.
well, I think it'll be quieter than the driving range with the parking lot.
Well, I think with the cars coming in and out, and the thought that they're gonna be closer now,
It's not gonna be a constant, you know, it's not like one car's gonna come in, one's gonna go out, like every minute you're gonna see a car come in and out, it's,
What kind of a fence is there at the back of the driving range? The existing driving range now, there must be a fence at the back, or?
there's a fence where people used to hit from, yeah, there's like a 6-foot vinyl, solid fence.
is there a possibility of putting any planting in that would provide some sort of a buffer for the abutters?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure we could do something if that,
I did have a couple of questions in addition to that, Mr. Chairman, if I may. One is, there's no repair of the vehicles or vehicle repair on site.
Well, I mean, it's possible that, like, the body shop in the Enterprise.
Well, no, in terms of the parking lot.
No,
aspect of
it's
this,
just the parking
And no loading or unloading at this location of vehicles?
lot.
You say they're Amazon,
Right now, it's
Trucks.
just Amazon vans, they drive them in, but they do trailer them in, and then, you know, a lot of those vehicles have started one time, they've been parked, and they just sit.
all right, so the vans would be brought in by a trailer and then offloaded at that point?
Or driven.
Or driven, okay.
Mhm.
But there's no thought in terms of offloading products from one to another?
Like vans backing up to each other?
Yeah,
Same-
something along that line.
No, like the Amazon vans, it's not going to be like an Amazon parking lot.
All right, it's not a distribution center or...
Not at all.
a-
It's just
an
a-
auxiliary facility, okay.
Yeah.
And the frequency in terms of the traffic coming and going, you have some estimate as to how many vehicles in and out in a given day?
I don't know if anyone could answer that question, but yeah, it's not a lot.
Not a lot.
It's not like there's 100 cars coming in and, 100 cars going out. It's
Right,
not-
but there are certainly times of the day, I'm thinking late afternoon, when West Main, there's some,
It would never
Frequency.
be a problem with the traffic on West Main for, I think there's, 25,000 cars a day probably go down West Main. So if you added 20 or 30 cars to that over the
Alright.
course of,
so we're estimating approximately 20 or 30 then, something in that range.
I would guess less,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So, I just,
We could try to get the public comments?
sure.
Dan Robbins, 258 West Main Street. My question is the hour of operations, and as far as how many vehicles per day are gonna be flowing in and out of there in all hours of the night? Is this something they're gonna be doing during the nighttime?
I know when they did drop some of the vans, they came in late depending on where they came from. But typically the operation ends, I think, at 4 or 5 o'clock. It's not like a 24-hour operation.
Now, is this gonna be primarily for all the Amazon vans coming in there?
I don't think you'll ever see another Amazon van in that parking lot unless it's
So
making a
what is it
delivery.
gonna primarily be used for?
For leasing vehicles, like, if you owned a business and you needed, a Camry, to
So
park the
you're gonna be
Camry.
like a large rental place to rent cars or lease cars?
It's for a leasing company, yeah.
What I'm saying is, somebody's gonna be there leasing out 5 or 6 cars, we're gonna have trucks coming in and out of there, picking up 5 or 6 cars, leaving, coming back, getting more.
There's gonna be vehicles that move around time to time. Some are gonna be driven in, some are gonna be trailered in, but I don't think it would affect, where is your house at?
Right across the street.
Yeah, you're across the street.
Yeah, but it's still, it's gonna affect everybody with the noise and the traffic, because after 9 o'clock at night, it's quiet up there.
Oh, it's not, no, the operation, I think they close at 5 o'clock.
So it's gonna be like 8 to 5 or whatever
I mean,
during the day.
occasionally I'm sure there's gonna be at some point a delivery. I mean, you don't hear me when I plow the snow, and whenever I hear it.
everything over there, I hear across the street, all the
I
cars
mean,
leaving.
so you would hear me at
hear
midnight,
all
1
the
o'clock,
plows
2
over
o'clock in the morning already. It's not like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be worse.
No, but what I'm saying is, the congestion of vehicles coming in and out of there, next thing you know, we have hundreds of cars rolling in and out of there, trailer trucks rolling in all hours of the day and night.
No, nothing like that.
So it's just gonna be like a lease place for leasing cars.
Correct,
And the Amazon thing's just a one-time thing?
exactly.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
Any other public comments? Nobody else? Did we receive any comments via email or anything?
No,
Okay.
we don't have the peer review report yet because of the change in the scope of the project.
All right, so I can close the public meeting and get right into planning board questions?
Well, no, we keep the public hearing open.
The public hearing open?
Sure.
All right. Just to delineate our task for all those present, as well as the board,
Mhm.
we're looking to do here.
This is a use that's allowed in both districts, because the lot is split by a zoning boundary, so it's allowed in both business and residential. It requires a major site plan review, which means the board can review all of the components of the plan and can request modifications to the plan. but the applicant has a right to do the project, so eventually you have to come to an agreement as to.
So this is a use by right. What use in a residential district calls for 500 parking spaces? What
Well,
use
I
is
guess I
that?
refer to the building commissioner who,
Well, our bylaws or zoning has use groups listed in there.
yes.
So I'll be interested to find out what use group it is. Are you aware of what use group it is in your research?
In the bylaw, I can point that out to you if you like.
I was hoping that
Yeah, I don't have,
engineer
I
would
don't
be
have,
able to.
I don't have the bylaws with me, so.
So,
Did you make the plan in accordance with our bylaws as far as lighting and everything else is concerned?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
So you're familiar with the bylaws?
I've read through them when I did the plan, yeah.
so I've checked off under accessory uses, light commercial vehicles is permitted in all districts. And then there is a, parking of, was it the light commercial? Yes, so it's the light commercial vehicles. And the line across goes, it's allowed in all districts.
I'm going to take a wild guess here, and my thought is that when this was put together, they never envisioned 500 and something vehicles in one location. It just
Yeah, so-
just an aside.
My first question was the use group, we've got that cleared up. My second question is I want to see a traffic study. I don't see how we can possibly even consider, if this is a major site plan approval, 500 cars in that district, with 20 cars coming every hour or two. If there's only 20 cars coming every day or whatever else, then I think that a lot with 40 or 60 places would be more appropriate. Just opening up the door to 500, it seems like there's a lot more traffic than that, and I like to see a traffic study right there. Just the simple fact that the Amazon name got brought up opens a whole can of worms. I have friends who live in Milford, and there is an empty Stop and Shop plaza there. And Amazon's parked numerous vehicles there. They're little delivery vehicles, and they have thoroughly between 7 and 9 and 3 and 5 in the afternoon, the whole intersection of that area are completely packed because you've got all these Amazon trucks trying to get out the little bit vans into traffic.
It's not going to be,
Amazon was brought up here, so then
It's not
it'd
going
be
to
nice
be
to
an
have it.
Amazon
It'd be nice
parking
to
lot.
have a traffic study then, to state exactly what's gonna be happening here, to have some kind of a name on that, so we know what we're approving.
You also mentioned that some of the vehicles would be brought in by trailer, so my question would be, are we talking like car carrier, semi-tractor trailer?
no. The only ones I've ever seen are like the 3,500, like dual-wheel trucks with 2 cars or maybe 3 cars. It's not, I've never seen, I mean, it's possible they could bring an 18-wheeler in and there's room for it, but I've never seen that.
Well, that's 24 feet wide that's the idea of a tractor-trailer car carrier coming in and out of that narrow area up in the front there.
It's no problem. We even park cars against the building and swing the vehicle.
So unless the planning board has additional questions, I'm going to ask if we want to have a continuance on this. We need to wait for a comment from engineering as well, anyway.
I would, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you give consideration to some sort of planting or something that would give the abutters the opportunity to, or some way of restricting whatever residual lighting there might be.
And I think,
It sounds like, with this parking lot and the number of lights that you're planning on putting in, if the young lady's experiencing issues now, that it can only get worse.
And is it possible I'll plant it on both sides? Just in case if I ever sold the property and someone
Right.
came
I
in and
mean,
just cut the
that-
trees
that-
down, I'll
I was
plant them
thinking
on
it
their
through, so
side
that-
too. I'm that guy, I'm easy.
No, I think you
I think
certainly be in order.
he also mentioned that he's not opposed to losing those lights at the back, right
Right.
there. His engineer mentioned the possibility of adding additional lights within the area of the parking lot there. So something you might want to consider is, if you need more lighting, if you lose those lights at the rear and you have lights more in the middle, that would give you the lighting you need, but it would keep lights away from that rear lot
It might,
line.
but I suspect that the abutters are going to see more light than they've had in the past, no matter what you do or however you
I'm assuming
configure
there's
it.
going to be a lot more lighting needed in
It's
that
gonna
lot
have to
than
be.
is being shown, just for security reasons.
Okay.
Having that whatever those little foot candles are around the lot, it's not gonna do anything to illuminate the middle of it.
I just had a question about the drainage. At the end of the parking lot, I know you're gonna shed the water. There's catch basins. The water's going into the catch basins?
There's two catch basins,
There's two catch basins in the middle here.
Yep.
There's another catch basin.
And where's the water going off the edge?
The rest of this topography.
Yep.
These grades all show, the water's running perpendicular to these.
And then it's going into a pipe, you said? The
It's going
riprap?
It's going into a swale, basically, there's a swale around
It's
the
if
whole
one of these
parking lot
vehicles is leaking.
here, and a whole swale that comes along the side.
I would prefer berm on the backside,
Okay.
just to prevent water. We got a major water problem heading into Eisenhower. So you might wanna take a look at maybe putting some catch basins, if that's a low side, putting some catch basins down there with, berm from preventing any water.
Well, there's a natural berm already with, the earthen berm that runs along there.
I would, when it rains hard, it runs straight down the field.
Yeah, he's coming this way to the back.
I would still like to see berm.
It may be a worst-case scenario, but what happens if one of these vehicles in 500 plus, I think there's some possibility of leakage? Where's that stuff going?
Where does the leakage go from all
Yes.
the cars that it leaks, that
Right.
leak now?
Well,
You're only talking
whatever
about
you have
500
there
cars,
now
probably.
is something
Probably.
less than the 500, right?
Yeah, but there's probably 5 million cars in the state. I mean, where are they parked and where are they leaking? I mean, it's,
So that retention, that's a retention pond, correct?
There's a detention basin and also a bioretention area, so I mean, those in itself treat all those pollutants.
And those are gonna have the,
It's got different, media, different plants, everything that'll suck up phosphorus
Okay.
and everything, yeah. It meets the, Graves is gonna review it, but it'll
So
ultimately
to
meet
that
those
extent,
stormwater.
this property would be enhanced over and more than it is able to handle that type of situation now.
Correct, it's gonna have less runoff when it's developed than what it has now,
Okay.
according to the calculations.
Dan, did you want to have the applicant have an electrical engineer prepare a photometric plan, or?
I'd like to see an electrical engineer's photometric, I'd like to see a traffic study. I don't know if we can get those before our next meeting, but I'd like to entertain a motion from the board for continuation on this. As a major site plan review, we can request both of those, right?
Sure, yes. When would you like to come back? You've got to get the
next meeting.
plan
How
up
fast
to
can you do it?
Graves for
It'll be all ready
review.
in 2 weeks.
Traffic study will
Traffic
take,
study and everything in 2 weeks.
Our next meeting,
Probably
scheduled meeting would
maybe
be
2 weeks.
I'd say 2
the
weeks.
12th of February.
I don't think it
Second
could be
one.
done in time.
No, the second date, okay, the second would be the 26th of February.
Go for that, if we have to continue, we can.
I'm the zoning officer, I have a question, because you said those vans are one-time deal, when are they leaving?
Well, I don't know, it
Especially
depends.
with this being prolonged and everything, because
The,
they need to go away.
yeah, when I guess when the warehouse is open, that's when they're gonna drop them off. I'm not sure.
Do you think it's like in the near future?
I mean, I hope. Yeah, I mean, it's all in, I know Amazon is supposed to open 5 warehouses in the state. That's what I'm told this year. So before Amazon destroys the world and everybody goes down with it, they're gonna need vans and they're gonna have to put them somewhere before the warehouse is open, so. That's where it's at, I guess.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this matter until the next the scheduled meeting for February 26th.
At
No more
7:30?
questions?
7:30 is continuation of the public hearing?
Yes.
Could I state this meeting, that I need a date when those vans are gonna go, I need to step on the date. So I need, between now and before the next meeting, I want the date, know when they be able to go. Because, they're not permitted at the moment.
Okay, I'll see if I can get that.
All right. So we have a motion for continuation until the 26th. Do I have a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So we're closing the public meeting for 263 West Main Street at 8 o'clock.
We have another public hearing, but they're not here. Oh, no, they just came in.
His engineer's here, and he just
Yeah,
wanted to.
we just came in. So she's gonna be put off even further.
Public hearing for 7:40?
Yeah, continuation
Okay.
for JD&D Construction. David?
All right, so my apologies to those in the audience waiting for other items. We have to take the public hearing, so I'm asking for your patience. We're trying to get to these as quick as possible.
David?
So this is a continuation. I'm opening at 8:01, the public meeting, the public hearing that's scheduled for 7:40. It's a continuation, major site plan review application submitted by JD&D Construction, 6,600 square foot building for a contractor yard at 24 Oxford Ave. Evening.
Good evening. So basically, it's a continuation because we need to work out something with the town to buy, I believe, Chestnut Street. And the next meeting, I believe, is in May, so we're probably gonna have to postpone it up until May.
Oh, so for the next public hearing then, correct?
Yep.
Or public meeting, town meeting?
Public
excuse me.
meeting, yeah, and we're gonna, work with the town administrator and, the lawyers and all that to try to iron it out before then.
Good, good. That paper street issue is,
Exactly, yep, and then we have some other things that we have to touch up from Graves and our engineer in the meantime. So what I'm thinking is maybe it would be a good idea to have one meeting prior to the meeting in May, just to kind of go over everything, finalize everything, make sure that, we're all satisfied, so then we can kind of finalize everything in May.
We'll pull that schedule out and give us a recommended meeting?
All the revisions are done? Okay, so, all the revisions are done, Lenny?
The revisions are all done.
So they're all done. If you guys want, we can submit it today, or submit it to Graves directly.
Yeah, so my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you can submit the plan with other revisions today. We will have that reviewed by Graves. And then if we're targeting the town meeting in May, would you be amenable to coming to a meeting in April
Yeah.
for final?
Yeah, just to make
Close it
sure
up
we have
before then?
everything. Yeah, just to make sure everything's good. Graves is all on board, just to make sure. And in the meantime, when we submit our drawings today,
Before
maybe
the
there's
meeting,
something we have to iron out. We
Yeah.
can iron it out before the April meeting.
That would be one of the orders and conditions of our approval.
Yeah, the question is, the status of Chestnut Hill Extension, and I believe that the applicant is requesting town meeting to transfer that property to them so that they can use it as a driveway.
And that might be a motion that the planning board would be sponsoring, correct? Or would that be going to the board of
That's through the
selectmen?
selectmen, I believe.
That's for the selectmen, okay.
Is that your intent?
I
Require
was
ownership?
working with the town administrator. I don't know what department directly, but I've been working with the town administrator, Ruda.
So it would either be a transfer of the land or some long-term lease for them to use it for their access.
All right. Planning board, if you guys are okay, we could target, for example, March 25th. That would give you a couple months' time to get going with the Board of Selectmen. That way we could hear directly from you guys what the general plan is. When we vote on that, either at that meeting or at a meeting in April, we could have the order conditions just contingent on what happens at the town meeting,
Perfect.
assuming
Yeah.
everything's in order and squared away, and we can go from there.
if I
Perfect,
may,
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, could we change that to April 8th? I think we already had some concerns about the availability of members for the March 25th meeting.
Oh,
That's
that's right.
correct. All right, we'll do that on March 5th then, if you guys are okay with that, or do you want,
March 5th,
March 11th.
March 11th.
let's see the out.
Okay. March 11th, it looks like.
Okay, fine.
Is that okay?
The March 25th meeting might have to be rescheduled, or we might not have it based on some availability of board members. That way, if we do it on March 5th, we're safe, we're gonna be
On
here.
March 11th. again.
Not March 11th, I don't know why I keep on
March
saying the 5th, thank you, Skip.
7:45? 7:40?
We can make it at 7:15, we don't have anything else on the board, on the agenda right
So
now.
far, we don't have anything, so.
7:15?
7:15, March 11th. Perfect.
All right,
All right, so we'll submit these drawings today. Graves will review them. In the meantime, yeah, we'll all communicate and schedule for March 11th.
excellent.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, what I did is I made 5 copies of the revisions, the sets. Okay, I also made 5 sets of the breakdown of what Graves came up with and verbally delineated all the changes that were made relative to their comments.
Excellent.
Okay, the thing that I was concerned about is that Graves alluded to the fact that, about the stormwater management things, and I'm under the impression that it was never given to Graves copies of the stormwater management. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you the 2 copies of the drainage calculations, and also 2 copies of the soils that were taken on the property for Graves to look at along with it. So if there's any questions, I can answer them for.
Okay. Excellent, yep.
Okay?
Lenny, could you email me PDFs of the plans and your narrative response to Jeff's
Electronic
letter?
copies.
How many what?
Just electronic copies of all the
Yeah, I can get the, you want the
Yes.
like PDF?
Yes,
Yeah, you
please.
can email it to me and
Okay, I
I
can
can
give
forward
you
them.
the PDF of the narrative here
Right.
and that.
Yes.
Okay, I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll close this public hearing at 8:07. That allows us to jump back into the agenda. I believe we were on item C, Alpha Pierpont Estates. Based on the new information that we received, the letters from the Hill companies, and the statements that were made, is the planning board comfortable with what we're being asked to do now? From my understanding, there is a roughly $4,000 deduction of the tri-party agreement and a rather similar reduction in the bond agreement. So based on that information, we know where we are, where we're going to be at. The total of $49,800, I believe it was, from Graves. Are there any more questions or anything else you guys want to clear it up before we could take a vote?
Mr. Chairman, I believe your question was, are we comfortable?
Yep.
I confess to being perhaps a bit uncertain. I was going to use the word confused, but uncertain seems more appropriate. So I don't know whether that lends to itself to an equivalency of comfort. And I think my
Steve, what do you
concern
guys-
is that there's some numbers bouncing around, and then we just had the applicant just make mention of the real story, which conjured up a whole host of possibilities in my mind. I think I would be happier or more comfortable if we were staying with that word if the treasurer had a chance to peruse these documents and had indicated that he had some measure of comfort in them and maybe had benefit of the real story, so to speak.
So, I didn't have a chance really to go over it with him. He keeps account of the deposits the town has on hand.
Uh-huh.
These are separate agreements with banks. So if you don't feel comfortable, I could ask for an accounting from each of the banks as to what they have on hand. Get a record of withdrawals.
I'm having difficulty finding that bit of information in these documents. I don't know if you've had a chance to peruse them, but to me, there's uncertainty there. I mean, one of them starts with a large number, but it doesn't indicate a balance. I assume something has come out of that 562,000, but there's no indication of what has and what remains.
So the form that you're being asked to sign tells the bank to withhold that amount of money. So
That amount being the 49,000 approximately?
46,000 and the
So they're not gonna release any
2,900.
more than what Graves Engineer
Yes.
has stated.
Yes, so initially, when I had my reservations, just for the board's information, I was thinking if there are, and just throwing stupid numbers out there, a couple of hundred in these accounts, and they were going down to 49, it's just a big jump. Is there any work that we'd like to see done beforehand? the new information that we received from these letters and from Tony's statement is that, no, the jump is much smaller. It's in the increments of $5,000-$6,000. The work that I would like to see being done in advance was with the street lights is basically planned, it's weather dependent. So, my concerns then about the amount and about the work have been more or less addressed. But that's speaking for myself. I can't speak for you three, but that was just where my comfort level was.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would ask, is that amount consistent with what you're looking for?
Well, what I don't understand is, every time I need a reduction, I do work, like, I pave that street, okay, and then I had a big amount with the bank to support their letter of credit and support their tri-party agreement. When the work is done, I let the town know, the planning board know, and I call Graves Engineering. He comes down, those numbers, they came from Jeff Walsh.
Yeah.
What is undone? What the amount, the money plus 20%, because that is the cost plus 20%.
All right, so you are asking if I understood Mr. Graves here was talking something like $49,000. Is that approximate $49,800?
Right.
That's what you're asking for? I think
No,
that-
no,
I'm not asking for anything.
Whatever we have is being reduced to that amount.
Okay.
And that amount is consistent with what Graves has shown is work left to be complete, plus the 20% contingency.
Okay.
The last estimation was $108,000 for the tri-party agreement. Now was reduced to $46,000. 35 plus 11 is $46,000. And the other bond for $19,000 is a letter of credit. That was reduced from 19 to 2,900.
Steve,
These
you guys
numbers that
have
came
any?
from.
I am now satisfied.
I'm comfortable.
I'm comfortable also, but I would caution that I want to see these items in phase one, I want to see them completed
Before any
before
more.
you come back to us with anything else.
But that doesn't, if I have the money there, I have $50,000 to secure for the work that is undone, to be done, okay? I have the money there to guarantee if I don't do it, the town has the money to do it.
I don't understand what the issue is with completing phase one.
The complete is that I need money to work. That's why I keep coming back to get money.
But
so
I think what Steve is saying is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that he's okay with this, what you're asking right now, is reducing the bond to the 49,000. But, and I think this is a paraphrasing for Lou as well, let's just say in 3 months from now, if there's another reduction, before entertaining that, we would like to see this work in phase one complete, the streetlights. There's people living there. We'd like to have that area as complete as possible before we move on to the other ones. Did I kind of paraphrase
That
properly?
is exactly what I'm saying.
nobody wants there more than me because I have to pay to plow their snow. The
Yep.
town doesn't plow the snow, I have to pay for.
Yep.
All right, it's costing me a lot of money. So what my plans is, we're gonna submit Jeff Walsh or Graves Engineering. They going through the as-built plan right now, okay? And I wanna give this, I wanna bring this, I wanna give this to the town in the next meeting. We're gonna, so, to give this project to the town, or the next town meeting, everything gotta be done.
Right.
So I'm not gonna go over there now and dig for boundaries or plant electrical poles, but as soon as the weather permitting, I'm gonna go there and just to get it done. Because basically it's all touch-ups, and plus you had 20% on the top of what it is, it just adds up to those numbers.
So it sounds like we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So I can entertain a motion?
So, what do you need a motion that we're gonna sign this document? Is that?
Motion that we accept the cost estimate from Graves Engineering,
Graves Engineering, okay.
and that we reduce the bond to the amount shown.
I'd like to make the motion that we accept the estimates from Graves Engineering and reducing the bond to the amount of $49,800.
There were two separate
Lower, right.
Right, they're two separate, but the overall amount is total.
Overall amount is
Which one is coming from, we're not
49,800.
gonna get bogged down in
Okay.
those details right now.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to accept the report from Graves Engineering, the estimate of the cost and the total amount, and to reduce the bonds, whichever they may be called, tri-party agreement, whatever else from here, to the amount of $49,800. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. It was easy.
Go on vacation.
Could I
now.
have those forms back, Tony, for the
Need
board
to
to
sign
sign?
these?
But
Yeah,
this,
You want to sign the original?
something. The original.
okay, it must be here. Oh, okay, yeah.
So finally,
Rocky Hill Estates.
Rocky Hill Estates, we thank you for your patience.
Tony, if you'll wait, I'll make copies for you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You signed in already?
I did, yep.
Perfect.
You have my email. So my name's Eva Hanatsky. I'm obviously Ted's daughter and Greg's niece. I am an attorney, so we've kind of become the de facto family attorney. And I know that there have been some concerns or questions that perhaps the planning board would like to address regarding Rocky Hill Estates, you know, the progression of the Bona Road subdivision. I'm here to kind of answer any questions you may have. I'm not entirely sure what those may be,
Yeah.
but
Chairman, you want to lead, or do you want me?
You go on, you go on.
So I guess some of our questions is where are we at with the phases of finishing that subdivision? I believe there's sidewalk that still needs to go in, berm that needs to go in, and a lot of the binder is becoming deteriorated. So where are we at with finishing that subdivision, and how many houses are left to be built? And do we have a timeline?
there are currently 3 lots still left in the subdivision,
Yeah,
and that's on Bona Road. My uncle has 1 lot that's done, so we have 1. We have obviously 2 houses that are already on that road.
yeah.
Got all approvals, everything. We have building permit for these 2 homes. They're up. The road, at least for that part of the subdivision, has been put in. In terms of timeline, again, I'm not sure. I think there is another issue that's been circling around with Paul Lane. There was an issue with that. That needs to, I think, be resolved before we can really go forward with completing the road. Again, I'm not going to, I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed by town legal counsel. It's been 20 years. I'm sure you're probably aware about it, but that does put a little bit of a wrinkle into this estimated timeline, because again, currently those residents have been trespassing on our property for about 20 years now. So I don't want to go too much into detail, but I know that that's an issue that needs to be resolved in some way, shape, or form. And that's our concern, I think, that is still an ongoing court case for 30 years. And we did have a judgment on the court saying that, these residents are, I'm not blaming the individuals living there, but
Yep.
through Conrad Allen, they have been trespassing on our road. And I know that has caused other issues.
My
again,
concern is the deterioration of the road.
what do you mean by deterioration of the road?
Potholes, alligator cracking. The road is, portions of the road right now, if you look at it, we're not going to allow them to be top coated unless they're removed and repaved with binder. So at some point, your bond's not going to even cover the expense of getting that road up to today's standard.
I mean, I understand that, but I've also reviewed the documents, and there was nothing in the original 20, 30 years ago that provided for much of a timeline. I think there was a mention of doing sections. There's no information in those documents. So legally, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to sit here and tell you in terms of a time frame. Again, the subdivision, there's that issue of Paula Lane that really puts another wrinkle in it. It's not a matter of, sure, great, it would be fantastic if we didn't have that issue, finish a subdivision completely and hand it over to the town. I know we probably have, I'm not sure what amount. I'd actually like to get an accounting about how much money is now in that account, because we do release every law for $3,000, and God, it's got to be over $100,000 now. That's not our intent, but we do need to, again, get that Paula Lane issue. Our concern right now is that we don't want any problems with selling these remaining homes. Again, we haven't had any concern, we put the road in. Graves Engineering came in, National Grid came in, put electrical work, so we are nearing the end of finishing the subdivision, but.
So there's 3 approved lots right now?
In the Bona Road section of it, there are 6 total lots. 2 of those lots have houses fully, they're up.
How many more lots are available to be built on?
In that area, there are 4 left.
So that lawsuit has nothing with, does that lawsuit prevent you from building 4 more houses on those lots?
No. But I'm saying it does, we definitely have to address that before we're able to finish or complete the road.
I think what started this is, we have a young board, and
Right.
we see that we have these subdivisions around the agenda every time we meet.
Yeah.
And there's just a concern on our part that, we want to be, we're looking out for the best interest of the town, and we're trying to find a way to help or to get these completed as soon as possible. So we really appreciate you guys coming in and just kind of give us an update. I mean, that's great news right there. But I think it's in our best interest as well as your best interest to get, that town onto the road onto the town meeting and to try to get that turned over. So we're just looking for an update and just trying to find out what the status is, and again, just look out for the best interest of the town.
Yep.
Yep.
No, and I understand that. It's definitely an issue that's been, I was a child when this all began, and I don't expect you to know the background.
No.
Completely don't expect that.
My only concern, though, is
But
what happens if for another 30 years it's not resolved and the road falls apart?
it's not gonna be 30 years, not resolved.
I mean, just trying to look at
Right.
our best interest. I mean, I think that it's gonna be much easier to sell the remaining 4 or 6 lots whenever the roads are in great condition and not when they're falling apart. It's probably gonna be something that any buyer might have questions about. So again, you're right, we're just trying to get just general information, just so we can find a way to try to get this moving forward if possible.
Is there any light at the end of this tunnel for this legal issue that you speak of?
It's definitely something that needs to be revisited for sure. Obviously, my uncle and my father aren't getting any younger, so I know this has been kind of existing out there. Again, I'm an attorney myself, I didn't represent them. I read through the documents, and I understand, that the court did rule that this Paul Lane subdivision there's no exit. That's what the judge said, and I know that's just been kind of on the back burner. It's an outstanding case. It's something that I need to confer with a real estate attorney expert and see if there's any kind of recourse for us moving forward. Again, that's the only wrinkle I think in this. We've been plowing for 20 years. We have a sander now, we plow, we're out there, we're plowing the road. I think the residents of the subdivision are very happy.
I know that we appreciate it. I'm sure the residents do as well. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
I know we appreciate it. I'm sure the residents do as well.
Right. No, and I can appreciate it. Like, it has been a while, and it's definitely something that we need to resolve. But in terms of the remaining, we're down to the last, 4 out of, I don't know how many houses, like 40 or so that they've built, so.
Yep.
We just obviously want to be able to build those homes, sell it.
Right.
I can't imagine this is gonna go, I don't want it to go extinct. There needs to be a resolution, but.
Right.
That's kind of why we're at a little bit of a holding pattern. It's not as straightforward. There's that other legal concern that we have, that we need to ensure that we're protected and or compensated fairly, so. That's the only issue, and I can appreciate that.
Does that holding pattern include those lots that are still to be built upon? Or are you gonna still build on those?
The entire subdivision, it's connected.
Yeah.
Paul Lane intersects, and that's where the issue has been.
Okay.
That those individuals.
So you can't build there
pressed.
until you get that resolved as well?
I'm sorry?
You can't build those last 4 lots until that's resolved?
That has nothing to do with it. In terms of moving forward and finishing the road, that's an issue that we need to. Because again, it's a matter of these people have been going over our road for the last 20 years, they have no legal right to do so, that's also added to the stress of the road and its deterioration.
I think to clarify his question, what he wants to know is the legal issue that's holding things up for you right now, is that gonna stop you from being able to sell those 4 lots?
Oh God, no, nothing. I'm just saying in terms of when we eventually, I'm assuming that we still need to, again, do work. We've been paying $3,000 per lot that's put in with the town to ensure that we finish the road as per what we had what the agreement originally said, there's nothing to prevent us from selling. We've been,
Okay.
the road is in, especially on Bona Road, it's a brand new road there, so we've gotten all the approvals, everything, we're just waiting on National Grid, it's taking forever. Those 2 homes that my father has right now I'll list them this spring. There's nothing, that's not the issue. I think it's more looking long-term about potentially if we were to turn, offer the road for a public to the town, as opposed to being a private road.
I got a question for Bill. If there's 4 lots that are still available that can be built upon, and there's still no sidewalks and no berms, and it's part of that phase, can we tie up lots until they finish those phases, regardless of the lawsuit?
I think of,
I
And my
mean, I think that's
question
a
is-
question that, like, from a legal perspective, because I've reviewed it, and it wasn't the road that we put in originally for the subdivision. That was a long-term plan, and that's why we've been paying money, so we go back after the fact and put that in. For Bona Road, to the best of my knowledge, that wasn't a requirement at all. That's a brand-new road that they just put in this past year. Got all the approvals, the road has been put in, Graves came in, so it's just, it's hard to consider because the one part of subdivision's kind of on the other side, so we're talking, I guess, about 2 different roads, so. I mean, I couldn't see a legal rationale for holding up that at all, especially not with the Bona Road lots, because again, that's a brand new road that was just put in, the asphalt was just laying this past year, so. It's a short, I don't know how many feet it is, it's not that long, but.
I guess generally lots are released when at least the binder course has been put
Right,
down.
and we got the 2 lots released, we come and I come, we have our covenant paper, where we come in, we pay $3,000, we've gotten them released, and then we have 1 more that I'll probably, propose on our end. I know my uncle has 3, because they are separately owned at this point, those in the Bona Road area of the subdivision, so. We've been paying to get those lots released, they have been released from the covenant, and, again, houses are built on it, and.
I mean, I think as long as you have sufficient withholding to pay for the completion of the road, then you probably would have to release
Yeah,
the
and we
lot.
Have we had engineers go up there recently to reevaluate what's left and what it would cost to do it?
I don't know if we've had anything done recently.
I'm not trying to sound difficult, but every 2 weeks, we go over the same subdivisions. And every time I go in these subdivisions, they're falling apart.
I mean, I would disagree with that, I'm sorry, like, falling apart, like, I go on public town. It's
I
like,
know,
come
but I
on.
can guarantee you, on part of your subdivision, the road is falling apart.
Okay, well, that's your opinion, I mean, I don't know, are you an engineer?
I work in the paving industry and build roads.
Okay, but that's your opinion, so respectfully, I can appreciate that, I'm not talking about other subdivisions, I could care less about the other ones, with all due respect, I'm focusing on this at hand, I mean, I know, I can appreciate that you come every week, but you're part of the planning board, I mean, that's your job, so, I'm sorry, I just don't, like, again, that's your opinion, I don't know what to tell you.
No, it just sounds to me like if we, things all break well, we'll be selling some houses and some lots soon, and then this can kind of start moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, we have, at least I'm speaking for my father, he has 2 houses up, ready to
Yep.
go. We have one more lot, from our perspective. My uncle has his 3 lots, but they're fairly quick putting up homes, so. Again, this needs to be, I don't really wanna get into that whole other issue, but I know that it was.
No, we
brought up,
appreciate,
so.
we appreciate you guys coming in, we appreciate the update. This is a lot more information than I had a year ago. So this is helpful for me. I understand the concerns, just in general, that we're trying to get these off of our agenda for the best interest of the town, best interest of the residents, and just trying to see what we can do to, to get things moving forward. It's like I said, I would like to see those lots get sold, like to see the street be in great condition so that they can sell better, and we're just looking for things to break well so that that can happen
I
as
know,
soon as
it's been a
possible.
process, I mean, there are like, I don't know if you've obviously been down there, but there are like 40 homes, so this wasn't done.
Yep.
It's been a process because, again, they put up a home or 2 a year, so. But in terms of that, the actual Rocky Hill Estates, I mean, we're down to, like I said, about 4 lots total in that subdivision, so.
Okay. So maybe this is something that we could talk about maybe at the next meeting. I'd like to get out there, just drive around. I don't think I've ever been out the whole way back there. And maybe we can get Graves Engineers to go out there and take a quick look.
I would love to have Grave Engineers go out there and take a look, give us a report.
Just give us our opinion on it, just to.
Right, and to be clear, the town has been holding money. It's, that's.
Again, we're just
something
looking for.
We haven't
yeah.
touched that at all.
No, we're
It's-
not, we're just looking for a status update, just trying to find out, what's going on, how we can help, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, we appreciate you guys coming in, and especially with the patience, and this didn't go as quickly as we had
Sorry, no,
hoped
it's
it was
just been a
going to.
long day working, coming here,
But now,
that's fine.
I have more information. We could possibly talk about getting Graves involved just for our good general overall feeling. I'd like to take a look back there and everything as well. So just, we appreciate the time.
Okay, great.
You
And, I
guys
mean, you
okay
have
with-
my email. I know that it's my dad and my uncle, and we come in, but if you do have questions, then feel free,
Okay.
reach out to me, and I can kind of help you.
Excellent. We might take up on that, okay?
No problem.
You guys,
I'm used
okay,
to
we're
it,
good?
so, all right,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you once again. All right, so,
Another minute.
a minute, I thought you were on vacation.
Oh, no, I want to talk about those lots, because I don't know, I still don't know what what are you going to do about the zoning change?
That's the Mason Street thing that we're talking about, the extension, or? what's
No,
over-
No, the lot
the
size.
fact that
Oh,
the
that- okay, the
lots are
ones
no
from
longer
earlier.
conforming.
Can we just maybe finish up our agenda and we can perhaps bring you in under comments from the audience? Because we've dealt with you as an agenda item already. Would that be all right? We don't have much left to do, I don't think, but
Oh, you want to finish this? Oh, sure.
just finish up and then we can.
Yeah,
I'd
sorry
like to
about
pick it up
that.
in March myself.
We don't have anything for
All right,
Piasta.
Bill, anything Piasta?
No,
Country View? No holding pattern there?
we had a meeting today with the developer, Mr. Haney, the town administrator, myself, George Petrinos, and sewer commissioner, about the issue of the sewer pump station at the end of Eisenhower. George is very concerned that pump station might fail at any moment, and at which point it would be an environmental and public health emergency. So he's been very insistent about getting that repaired as quickly as possible. So Mr. Haney came in, and his position is that if he built the facility according to the specification of the plan, then he should be in the clear. If he did not build it according to the specification, then he would own up to the fact and get it fixed according to what was required. So we broke up the meeting at that point and decided to review the plan so that we could determine whether the station was built according to the specs. And we did find the plan, and we are going to send him a copy. It appears that it was not built according to the specs,
Oh, thank goodness.
but that will we want him, obviously, the chance to respond.
Yep.
And so we're gonna meet again in 2 weeks, at which point we'll decide who's gonna fix what and when it will be done. So we don't have any, definitive answer at this point in time, but at least we made some progress.
Yep, that's excellent.
We
Yep.
did meet with the developer who had been away quite a bit, so I think it's moving in a good direction.
Have any indication of what the status of those pumps is currently? I mean, they're not
They-
getting any better, I guess, assume that anyway.
Apparently, there was some infiltration of groundwater into the well pit, which means that the town is paying to send water to the treatment plant and pay for that treatment of non-sanitary wastewater. It's essentially groundwater. So George is very concerned about the potential for failure. So it's not a good situation,
Yeah.
but it's still operating.
Bill, when you're in these meetings, you're able to bring up the fact that whatever fix they come up with obviously needs to be a permanent fix. This can't be like something that's gonna be just like,
Right.
fix what's wrong now, and then
Right.
we're gonna continue to have this problem. Because my understanding, as I recall, the situation was that after the pumping station was put in, the topography was changed in order to put another lot in, and that's what was the root cause of all of this problem we're having now. So that's why I kind of cringed when you said, well, we were gonna revisit and see if he did the, design to spec, because even if he did it to spec, if you go and change the topography right next door to the thing afterwards, you're still causing a
I
problem.
think it's a valid concern, sure. So we'll try to
Yeah,
find
so
that out as
obviously,
well.
you know, we want to make sure everybody's on the same page here. This has
Right.
got to be, if it means that something has to be lifted, or, you know, I'm not a contractor,
Right.
I don't
Could be
know. But there's
regraded,
got to be
perhaps.
something regraded, or the water that's getting in there, some way to reroute that water away from the pumping station? Or is there, you know, is there some kind of a concrete, something that can be put on there to raise that up so the water can't run right in there?
Right. That's obviously a concern. We want to get that fixed.
Yeah, okay,
It's costing the town money.
all right.
Anything on Tobin Farm?
No,
Anything, final inspections, site plans,
no.
so solar? Good there. All right, planner's plate?
I'd like to let you all know that the National Register nomination was accepted. For Dudley Hill National Register Historic District. So it's now been accepted by both the Mass Historic Commission and the Department of the Interior. So it's now officially on the National Register.
Excellent
So that's good news.
news, yep.
Congratulations to those who worked on that.
So that's the only thing I had on that issue.
Any comments from the planning board? Seen tired faces.
One just quick comment. Just want everybody to keep in mind, when she says that they paid $3,000 per lot, per bond for Rocky Hill, just keep that in mind for the next meeting, because that is not enough to cover that road.
Right, I did the math, yeah, it's $12,000 for 4 lots.
That's the old school of thinking, so just everybody
But
remember
there's,
that.
I think there's more money in escrow there for the work.
I think it's only $120,000.
Okay, that's more, but if it's enough.
I just want everybody to remember that, 'cause we were complaining about it before.
Anything else? Any more comments? Any planning board members? Comments from the audience? Tony? Oh, with, Nelson?
Talking about subdivisions, and I noticed she had said, you know, it's 30 years old. And Bill, you maybe could answer this. Do they ever revisit, like, the amounts they put in? Otherwise, you guys are always gonna be behind the 8 ball. What Mr. Perrin was trying to say is it's gonna cost more money because you gotta fix what was there, and you're gonna end up with a big bill if we give them every 4 lots that's left. Because there's gonna be no incentive for them other than saying, you guys fix it, and you're not gonna be able to fix it. So I guess the
gonna have
question
enough
is, you
money.
should go to town council or somebody and find out if you can readjust the terms before you give those other 4 lots. And I don't know if that's legal or not, Bill, I don't even know if you know, but
I don't know.
I guess
Yeah.
we should know as a town. I mean, that's what I'm saying, sitting here, you know?
Have you been
And-
up there,
and-
Mr. Burlingame?
Say that again?
Have you been up there?
Did I what?
Have you been up to that subdivision?
Yes, yes.
Do you agree that that road's falling apart?
Yes, and they said that nobody's complaining, but people were complaining about the plowing because the truck had broke down when I was up there at one time doing some inspection. So they have been complaining about the plowing, so.
I know that I'm planning on getting out there sometime the next week, take a look around. I don't even know if I've ever been to some of those
Yeah.
areas. Maybe the rest of the planning board can do the same, and then at our next meeting, we can talk about asking Graves to come out there and take a look at what's right, what's not, and try to give us a cost estimate for that. And then we can start to have some ground to stand on as far as funds and how do we move forward.
You know something else too, and it's not just you guys, and it's not just Dudley unique, because I see this in other towns, and you're struggling, and I feel bad for you, really. It's not easy, it's not easy at all. But there should almost be something in the original negotiations that if it takes X number of years, it's so much more years, you build in a factor with more money, because if you don't.
Factor for inflation.
Yes, for inflation, because you don't know if it's gonna take 10 years, I mean, she said, right, 30 years, do you realize what $1 is today compared to 30 years ago? And that's what they're gonna try to finish, so you know, they have to be ahead of it all the time. It's like, you know, what Tony was saying too, you know, it's tough. But I
Bill,
think there
whenever
has to be a factor for inflation.
Whenever a subdivision plan gets approved, there is a timeframe within which they have to get all the construction completed, correct?
Usually there's a 2-year period.
And if for some reason it gets continued after that, they have to come before us and ask for that continuation,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
That's our opportunity. Is
Yeah.
that after 5, 10 years, if they want to have the last half of that subdivision opened up, that's when we have to get Graves in there to start to do an up-to-date cost analysis. And then we can say, yes, we will approve this continuation if the bond gets increased accordingly to whatever.
When was the last 2 years on Rocky Hill, you think, or whatever?
I don't know, last time they came in to ask for,
So maybe that's what
An
you
extension.
should think about, and get real numbers from Graves or whoever, and, you know, and maybe we should do it before we issue the other 4 building permits.
Right, and that's the first step would be asking Graves to get out there. So if all the planning boards can get out there, members can take a look out there, get their opinions a little bit up to date, and then we can talk about it at next meeting, and then ask Graves. And we should be, it's first step onto the road of doing something.
Well, like I say, like I say, I think you guys are doing a good job, and
Thank you.
you're addressing it, you know what I mean? And it's not easy. The other thing I'd like to mention, I don't want to jump all over the place, but when they talked to me about that budget rental, it was an accessory to budget, and it was parking only. You know, because there was questions about, like, what are you gonna do? Is it like transfers and all that? He had talked to us, you were with me.
yes.
And it was parking, period. That was the use, because, you know, when I have to decide a use, if it's allowed or not a use, they gotta tell me the real use. They can't change it when they come here. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way.
Right.
But I just wanted to make that clear, too. You know, so, okay?
Thank you.
Keep coming to the meetings.
You got 3 minutes, Tony. Think we can do it?
It's up to you.
It's your vacation, though.
I'm ready to leave. So, I don't know, am I gonna start with this problem of the zone changing?
This is not a zoning board.
Well, I think that the issue that's in front of us right now predates the planning board members. Unfortunately, none of us really have long line of experience on the board or with working with you here. So I'd like to, first of all, just to kind of speak with Bill and get as much background information as possible to find out when the town meeting took place, when the zoning got changed, find out if we can figure out the whys behind that. And then once we're armed with a lot more information, then we can talk to you and try to find out, okay, would we sponsor a bill to go for the town meeting to try to make that to rescind that? Or is this something that the Board of Selectmen has to get involved in? You know, right now, I don't have any background or any information on that, but this is basically, today is almost one of the, I can't say it's the first time, but I haven't known about this for that long. So the first step, in my opinion, is just for us to try to get some background information, and then to go from there.
So, I guess, you know, there's two options, I guess, for Tony. One is to get a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for each lot. So that's some administrative relief. It's up to the Board of Appeals to determine whether it qualifies under the statute for a variance. Don't know whether they were granted or not. The second option is to change the zoning. There was Res 43 when the plan was approved, and all of the lots conformed to the zoning at the time. I don't know when town meeting rezoned that entire part of town, but it's now Res 87, which requires almost 2 acres per lot, so a lot of his lots no longer comply. So the second option is to go to town meeting and ask town meeting to rezone his property back to what it was when the plan was approved. And as a landowner, Tony can sponsor that article, petition town meeting to rezone it.
Yep.
And the planning board has that authority as well. So if you could sponsor the article, in which case Tony doesn't have to do anything. If you decline, then Tony can do it on his own.
But if he received relief from the zoning board of appeals, he wouldn't have to go to the town meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so I think that might be the most expeditious way of dealing with this. Because they would, I assume, be meeting on some sort of a regular basis, is that correct?
They meet monthly, I believe.
Monthly?
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds like that'd be the quicker route if you wanted to.
The zoning was changed just 2 weeks after, we rushed the plans because the zoning is gonna change. The zoning changed 2 weeks after they approved the subdivision. In 2007, 2006. Yet, they changed it like 2 weeks later. And, the only thing that really bothers me is because between now and then, I can't do anything.
Well, I think Bill's just indicated that if you went before the zoning board of appeals, there might be some relief available for you there, as I understood your comments earlier.
Sure, they could grant a variance for lot size.
Right, so, it sounds like that's the quickest option available to you in terms of getting some relief.
Yeah, I talked to the, I was gonna go to the ZBA before I came here, but yes, it looks like nobody, the conservation doesn't know. I mean, it looks like everybody's lost on this thing, I mean.
I would talk to the ZBA first, because even if we were willing to, do this for him and change, put forward the change in the zoning, it could still be shot down at town meeting. He could wait for town meeting, and then you could have that room could be filled with
Right.
butters that just shoot it down just out of sheer petulance.
So, the issue over here is, somebody needs to stay behind me, because I said it before, and this is a very expensive piece of land to develop, and if I'm gonna go from 10 lots to 4 lots, then I take a longer vacation. So I gotta get this thing back to what it is right now. That's how it was approved, and that's how I'll be able to finish. And I like to get on right away, and I just can't because of this problem.
Well, your path of least resistance, from what I can see, would be, again, go through the zoning.
Okay.
Try and get zoning to approve variances on those remaining lots.
I'll be here tomorrow with a check, $1,000.
The town meeting is in April, so if you want, in May, excuse me, so if you want to go for a zoning change, you'd have to get that process underway in March.
Okay.
Because we have to advertise a public hearing, the planning board has to hold a hearing, and it has to be a certain number of days before town meeting, so.
Yeah, so if you can reach out to the zoning board of appeals and try to get their feedback, and if it seems like that they're, would be willing to grant this or to discuss this, that would be the easiest path for you.
Quickest.
And the quickest.
I think the ZBA is gonna be okay with it.
Yeah.
All right? I'm only having a problem with the town meeting, because you never know what's gonna happen. It's got like probably 300 members
If I
over there.
understood Bill, excuse me, Tony, but if I understood Bill, if you get the approval from the ZBA, you don't need the town meeting.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
that's the first hoop for you.
If the ZBA approves it, the zoning won't change.
Okay.
They're just gonna allow that to happen.
All right.
Which I'm more comfortable with that.
Thank you for your
personally.
time. I don't wanna be.
As far as why the zoning was changed, I believe that was part of the implementation of the master plan from way back. I think it took that long for it to be all worked out, but I think that was
By
actually.
the way, don't let Amazon come into Dudley.
Yeah.
We made a big mistake in Milford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have major problems in Milford from what I've heard.
All right, see you. Thank
Sure
you.
thing.
See ya.
All right, gentlemen, if we're good?
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, I'd like to make a motion we adjourn.
Before we adjourn, we have item H to consider.
Item H. Sorry.
I'd just like to mention a couple of things.
Oh.
The Stevens Mill, there's a potential developer who would like to develop market rate housing in the mill, apartments, rental apartments. The only way he can do that is to go through the mill conversion overlay district, which does allow mixed use and allows housing. There is a requirement in the bylaw that requires 10% of the units of the residential units to be affordable housing, which qualify for to be placed on the subsidized housing inventory. So in other words, it has to be available for rent for households that are no more than 80% of the area median income, which means he wouldn't be able to rent those at market rate. They would be lower. So he doesn't want to put in affordable units. So he's contemplating, and I don't have anything in writing yet, a zoning amendment to amend that bylaw to allow the planning board to grant a waiver of the affordable housing requirement upon a recommendation of the Board of Selectmen. So presumably the selectmen would look at the economics of the project. You know, why do you need this waiver from affordable housing, which is an important need in the town. So if the selectmen said favorably that they would, they would recommend that they would be okay with all market rate, then it would come to the planning board for approval of the project and waiving that affordable housing requirement. So that would require a town meeting vote in order to change the zoning to give you that authority.
Wait, is that even legal?
Excuse me?
Is that legal?
If it's town meeting approves
I mean,
it.
the whole purpose of that provision
In Chapter 40?
is basically to avoid snob zoning, or
Yeah,
if
it's
I
to
understand it
address an important
correctly.
need.
So I mean, I can't imagine that would be allowed, because
Well, there
every
could be-
town in the district would say, hey, we don't want to, we're gonna just change the rules so that there's no low income, or what did you call it?
Affordable housing.
Affordable.
So it's the town zoning bylaw that requires the affordable component of this.
And that's not, that is not
That's
some
not-
requirement that was put in there by the state?
No,
Really? Oh,
it was determined to be a local need.
Local option?
So there was put into that bylaw. So you could take it out completely if you wanted to, or in this case, they're asking for an ability for you to waive that requirement. So the competing needs, obviously, the restoration of the mill, get it, back to a productive use.
yeah.
It's been sitting vacant for a while. So, I'm not advocating for it, I'm just saying that
What percentage, again, of the units would be under this
10%.
10%?
According to the bylaw.
Is that percentage fixed, or is that something that is a variable as
It's
well?
fixed in the bylaw.
Okay, so it's an either,
I mean, it could be more, but it has
it
to
could
be.
be more, but it has to be as a minimum. It
How
can't
many
be
units do
less.
they think they're gonna get out of that? Did you see any
We
estimates?
saw a market study that said 164 units.
164 units.
Were there other things that were going to be involved there in addition to just
There were
apartments?
some public meeting spaces, I think, maybe a restaurant. They were a little vague on what the commercial components would be.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're really just trying to feel the town out first before they spend a lot of money on developing plans. They did the market study
Mhm.
to see whether it'd be viable at all, and they decided that only market rate would be economical for them to proceed with. So I just wanted, that's just a heads up. I don't
Yep,
know
no, we
whether they're
appreciate
gonna
that,
commit.
yep.
The other one that came up is we saw tonight, the self-storage units.
Right.
They're not permitted anywhere in town.
Anywhere?
Correct.
Wait.
This is still on Schofield Ave,
Yeah,
312?
The village,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
right
They're
across
not
from
allowed
Hardlock Place.
There's nothing in the use table that allows them.
There's some right across the street from the old Stevens Linen Building.
Yeah, that's, don't they call it Hardlock Place, I think?
So I suggested to Peter that he go before the Economic Development Committee to talk about it, to see whether that committee felt there was a need for self-storage units.
They just added some more.
And then that could be another potential zoning
Oops.
amendment to allow those in, say, industrial districts or.
Is he still pursuing that? It sounded like he was just talking a parking lot.
Well, he's talking parking lot because we basically said he couldn't do that.
Couldn't do that, okay.
So,
Because it was a
But he still
zone.
has that in mind at some point in the future, or is that?
well,
I don't
the
know.
idea of a zoning amendment is something that I suggested. So
Okay.
if there's a need for that in town, then by all means, you could, try to get it put in. If there's no desire for it in town, then there's no need to do anything.
Well, I don't know if there's a desire for it. I'm just wondering from a standpoint of the people who have concerns about that property, would they would they feel more comfortable with a self-storage unit lot there as opposed to a huge parking lot? In other words, if we granted that amendment and let him put the self-storage units in, obviously, he's not gonna put as many parking spaces in for the I mean, he's got the property, he wants to make money with the property, he wants to put a business there. Which business is less intrusive and causes less traffic issues in general? Almost seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but doesn't it sound like a self-storage lot would be less intrusive than a?
But I think he wanted to do both. So,
Right, I
mean,
guess my point being is that right now, it's because we said no to the storage units, he's up to how many lots?
500.
Yeah, I think he had only like 300 parking spots.
Yeah, about
Which
400
is still a
before.
heck of a lot, and
Yeah,
then now
400,
he's got,
yeah.
because there's no storage there, now we're up to 500, whatever the number, 560.
No matter how
whatever.
you cut it, you're gonna end up with probably a significant increase in traffic. I don't think you can get away from it. And there are times of the day when West Main is, it's something of a bottleneck.
And so,
So nothing, at this point, just an idea.
Right.
okay. So I'd like to get back to that motion and the second that we had a little while ago about the adjournment.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed, no one, motion passed.
Never-